Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1988 Mazda RX7 known as the FC. Now if you guys are familiar with my channel, you know that I have an RX7 myself. I've actually had two of them and I have reviewed an FC before, but that FC was gutted, it was cut, and it was pretty much a piece. So today I'm reviewing my good friend Kenny's, which is a way better off car. It actually only has 77,000 miles on it. Up front is a 1.3 liter rotary engine, and down below is a 5-speed manual gearbox. Now the car that I reviewed before was, like I said, in 1987, and this is a 1988. So the only changes between there were really, it got a 5-lug all around instead of a 4-lug bolt pattern, and a couple minor things that car companies tend to do. So this car is technically an S4 or Series 4. And what that means is that it's a 4th Series RX7. So the first generation had 3 series, the second generation had 2, and I believe the third generation had 2 as well. So that means you get older style taillights, which are less desirable. The engine produced about 10 to 15 less horsepower than the Series 5. And a couple other things. The Series 5, all of them had 5-lug instead of some of them having 4-lug, that sort of thing. So like I said up front is that 1.3 liter 13B rotary engine. And that's really what makes or breaks the car. If you know anything about rotaries, instead of pistons, they have, well, these, they're called rotors that rotate around instead of pistons going like this. So it creates a little bit of a smoother engine. You can rev them up to 7 grand as their red line, which was a pretty big deal for back in the day, which is 1988. And overall, they just kind of have a cult following. That being said, this 13B puts out 155 horsepower. Out of a 1.3 liter, that's not bad. Now, there were turboed options, but obviously this isn't one. In terms of performance, it's peppy, it's quick, and the handling is like nothing else. That's really why you buy an RX-7, because the engine weight is so low, because it's a rotary. It handles like a dream, and honestly, I've never driven a car that handles better than an RX-7. That's just where they're most comfortable, is in the corners. Straight line speed, you're not gonna win any awards with it. But in the corners, that's where RX-7s shine. Performance, I will give it an 8 out of 10. Now, that's not really reflective of how good this car is. By performance, I mean straight line speed, what everyone cares about, 0 to 60, it's not going to be great. But honestly, I've never driven another car like an RX-7. Miatas get close, but they don't have that rotary spirit. Now, in terms of interior, this car that I'm reviewing actually has a put together interior, unlike the last FC that I took a look at. And the interior, although it's an odd shade of blue, it's actually pretty nice and pretty comfortable. It's a nice place to be. Behind the driver and passenger seat are 2 little cargo holds, which are a really nice feature, because if you notice, it is a 2-seater sports car and space is at a minimum. Although there have been people who have modded back seats in here. I believe in Japan and some other countries, you could get rear seats. It's called a 2+2, but obviously this car doesn't have it, and that's a really rare, I'm talking really rare option. So overall, I'll have to give the interior a 7 out of 10. It's nice, but it literally has nothing to boast about. So why would you want to buy a 1988 Mazda RX-7? Well, first of all, you have to understand that it has a rotary engine. You have to understand that. If you don't understand what a rotary is, and you're going to buy an FC or an RX-7, get informed, because it will become a large part of your life. That being said, if you want to own a rotary, I would highly suggest getting a Series 4 RX-7 as your first rotary. Now you can tell it's a Series 4 mainly because of the taillights. The taillights are black and they have they kind of look like old style windows almost, kind of. But I would seriously recommend getting a naturally aspirated Series 4 RX-7, and here's why. In my opinion, now it may be kind of swayed because I'm putting this exact engine into my first gen RX-7, but I believe that this is the best rotary engine there is. It comes after the 12A, which was carbureted, and carburetors, as we know, can be kind of finicky, but it's before all rotaries were turbocharged. The third gen of RX7, all of them came turbocharged, which is great for power, but the reliability kind of doesn't stick with it. I have known Series 4 FCs, I've known people to have them well up into the 200,000 mile range, which completely destroys the whole rotary reliability argument, which is a stupid argument, and don't get me started on it, because it is a stupid argument. They can be just as reliable as piston engines. Sorry, but it's true. That's for another video. The Series 4 Mazda RX-7 is the gateway drug to rotaries. Plain and simple. They're not boosted, so you don't have to deal with that. They're not going to throw down any serious power, but you are going to get a feel for the rotary. You're going to feel that 7,000 red line. You're going to feel what it's like to mash on the pedal of a rotary, which, if you haven't felt, it's a really good feeling to just mash on the pedal. For anyone who's ever lifted weights, you know that feeling you get when you're lifting a little bit higher weight than your usual, and you're tensing up, you're pulling it up, and then like you just feel your muscles kick in and you go all the way to the top and you're like, yeah, I just lifted 8 pounds. What's good? That's the feeling you get when driving a rotary. When you mash that pedal, you go, yeah, it's this chunky, this good feeling in your right foot, and you just hear the buzzing go bzzz, or something similar to this. Get a little buzz for it too. It's a sensational feeling that's intoxicating. There's not a whole lot of other cars that will rev all the way up to redline and still love you afterwards. RX-7s will still love you, even if they mug you and take your wallet. So do I love Mazda RX-7s? Absolutely. They are my favorite car by far. Do I think Felix Wankel is a god? Maybe. I don't know. An RX-7 is really a car you just have to drive. It's really hard to explain until you drive one. See, the whole thing with rotary reliability is, as long as they're treated properly, they'll last forever. But it's people that don't understand how to take care of them, don't understand premixing, don't understand all these things, that they blow the motors and then you're stuck buying a blown motor car. Now, I mentioned Premix, which is something I forgot about until now. Premix is putting 2-stroke oil in with the gas when you fill up your tank. Yes, you put 2-stroke oil in with your gasoline. That is because the tips of those triangles, at those tips, there's something called an apex seal. And it rubs on the rotor housing every time the rotor goes around. Well, you have to lubricate that somehow, or else your apex seals will blow. Now, Mazda thought of this, and they're like, all right, we'll put a pump in the car that will pump oil into the housing and lubricate the seals, right? Well, sometimes those pumps go bad, and there's no real way of knowing that they've gone bad. So, one day you'll probably just stop getting lubrication, and then your engine will blow. That's why a lot of engines blow. Now, a way to combat this is you put about half to a full ounce of 2-stroke oil. Now, there's some companies that produce specific 2-stroke oil for rotaries, or you could just use really any 2-stroke oil. And what that does is now your fuel injection system also works as your lubricating system. So it's a way to preserve that longevity of your engine. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the 1988 Mazda RX-7, please leave them down below. As you can tell, I absolutely love the car. Thank you, Kenny, for letting me review it. And if you're considering getting an RX-7, do a little bit of research, and I'm sure you'll love it. So again, thank you guys for watching, and take care. little icy out there today, huh?
Just a tad, yeah, when you have to drift your own car to get up the driveway.